Hello, it's 9 p.m. Friday, 13 October. I hope you're having a great weekend. Take a look of tonight's major stories. The Prime Minister assisted in the reception in Balbala. Signature agreements to enhance cooperation between Morocco and Russia. Good evening. The President of the Republic sent his condolences following the death of the late Ibrahim Idris Jibril, a great servant of the Djibouti state. The late Ibrahim Idris left us last night. A highly respected Djiboutian politician, the deceased was born in 1948 at Obok. He leaves behind him a widow and 10 children in a large family. Politician of conviction, the late Ibrahim Idris was a very courteous personality, generous and loved by his contemporaries and by the many Djiboutians who rubbed shoulders with him. A nurse by training, he joined the government in the late 1980s and had successively held several ministerial posts such as public works, civil service, agriculture, and finally justice. He was currently a member of the Constitutional Council before his death. Very touched by the disappearance of a great political figure and a servant of the country, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, addresses his condolences, most saddening, to the whole family, to the relatives and friends of the late Ibrahim Idris Jibril. He prays Allah to welcome him into his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. After the reception at the Stadium Goulet last Friday, the elected officials of the municipality of Balbala has organized today in their turn a large reception with the participation of the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed at Al-Rahma complex. The atmosphere was joyful and friendly at the reception, where the Prime Minister and the elected representative of the capital together had a lunch that saw the participation of the Mayor, Mrs. Fatuma Osman, the President of the municipality of Balbala, Mr. Muabiri, parliamentarians and notables. And this kind of reception is usually organized few months before the next Friday's legislative elections. The first has conveyed strong messages for a popular mobilization in order to the victory of the candidates of the UMP in the legislative elections. These parliamentarians will support the political vision of the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh. He also asked the population to defend themselves against the destabilization and criminal actions carried out by strangers whatsoever at Buluko, Dora, and Obok. The authors of these actions are the frenemies of our country who want to harm the peace and the socio-economic development of which the country benefits, he said. And in an interview given to the RTD after the reception organized with the strong participation of elected Balbala, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed thanked the organizers and participants who are taking place for the second time in the capital. In his first message addressed to the participants, he announced that it is not the RPP alone which seeks the suffrage of the electors in the legislative election of next February, but the whole of the UMP coalition. He asked all voters, including those of Balbala, to mobilize to support the candidates of the UMP in the legislative elections of Friday, February 2018. The victory of the UMP in the legislative elections will be very important to support the political vision of the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, and moreover, the Prime Minister condemned the actions that took place a few days ago in Bulduko in the area of Balbala. The state decided to regulate the situation of illegal occupation of land in the Bulduko sector. We have asked the Djiboutians, he said, to go through the legal way to benefit from a land. Contrary to our will, they opposed the forces of order, of which they wounded a dozen. Worse still, these people set fire to a school for the education of our students, as insisted the Prime Minister. The perpetrators of the criminal actions of Bulduko a few days ago, those who burned an ambulance in Dora and drilling trucks in Obok, have all the same objectives, said the Prime Minister. These are foreign people whose only aim is to destroy our country, Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed said. In conclusion, he asked the population to defend themselves against the criminal acts of foreigners who want to harm the peace and development of the country. Always always in his tour in the region, the Health Minister Dr. Jamal Mokie went with the Minister of Energy Younis Ali Gedi and parliamentarians from the region, as well as a large delegation composed of senior officials from the Ministry of Health, the Health Minister his energy colleague Younis Ali Gedi took part in the conference debate in Arta to listen to the grievances, the major concerns and the aspirations of the population in terms of health. And during the exchange, several questions were asked by representatives of the civil society of Arta, who took turns taking various subjects related to the health system in the region. Since the meeting was, in the opinion of all of them, a real success, because this objective said has been achieved, and all the grievances expressed by the population will be integrated into the new plan of health development advocated by the Department of Health for the Arta region. The President of the Regional Council, Mr. Almi Bouh, and the Deputy Prefect of Arta's region, Mr. Mohammed Fouzi Ahmed Assawi, spoke at the beginning of the conference to welcome the Health Minister, Dr. Jamal Mokie, and the Minister of Energy, Mr. Younis Ali Gedi, and the delegation. The inhabitants of Arta were particularly mobilized to welcome the Health Minister, Dr. Jamal Mokie, who was entitled to a crowd bath unless to a proud and enthusiastic population. During this conference, the Energy Minister Younis Ali Gedi reiterated the priority given by the Djibouti government to improve the health of the population, and especially through the strategy of local health. The Health Minister Jamal Mokie, taking the floor, said that this democratic exercise is the cornerstone of the political vision of the head of state, Ismail Omar Guelleh, who has always placed the Djiboutian population at the very heart of the government's action. The minister has also responded to all these questions from the population by giving explicit explanations and clarifications on the ins and outs of the health policy that he leads in this region. Continuing his speech, the Minister of Health, Dr. Jamal Mokie, subsequently reminded the audience of the past actions taken by his department in this region, such as the medical and surgical caravan, but also the forthcoming prospects which will be implemented very soon, he said. And as a member of the RPP Executive Committee and National Secretary for Civil Society, Dr. Jamal Mokie met with the members of Arta's 4 annexes committees as part of the ongoing dialogue between Arta, the RPP party's governing party, and its base. In his speech, the RPP National Secretary urged the local executives of the party to redouble their efforts to reinforce the actions of awareness and mobilization in order to calmly prepare the electoral deadlines of 2018. And Dr. Jamal Mokie also congratulated the members of Arta Federation committees for their activism and unfailing commitment to support the political vision of President Ismail Omar Guelleh. At the head of a large delegation from his department, the Minister of Communications in charge of Postal and Telecommunications, Mr. Abdi Yusuf Suge, represented our country at the World Conference on the Development of Telecommunications in Buenos Aires in Argentina. The work of the World Telecommunication Development Conference, which will continue until 20 October, is attended by representatives from over 130 countries organized by the International Telecommunication Union. The theme of the conference is TIC, serving the objectives of sustainable development. Continuing with the national news, the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Kingdom of the Saudi Arabia, Din Said Mubakrama, was received by Mr. Youssef Al-Bonain as the new Executive Chairman of the Saudi Petrochemical Society, also known as SABIC. The discussions between the new Chairman and the Ambassador focused mainly on the investment opportunities of SABIC in Djibouti and the possibilities of their presence in the Horn of Africa through the modern ports of Djibouti. And the Minister of Muslim Affairs, Mumin Hassan Barre, along with Idris Musa Ahmed and Duale Hassan Ahmed, Technical Advisor and Director of Culture, supported and presented the 2 conventions of 1954 in the event of armed conflicts and its 2 protocols, as well as that relating to the 1970 convention concerning the measures to be taken to prohibit and prevent the import, exports and transfers of property. In the Committee on Foreign Affairs of the Djibouti Parliament, Parliament with a view to their ratification. On this occasion, the Minister of Culture has clearly demonstrated the advantages resulting from these two conventions, and in particular the provision of the international technical assistance, capacity building, the establishment of support mechanism for the protection of cultural property, the structuring of the operating environment for cultural property, antique shops or art galleries and the like. In continuing with this, Foreign Affairs Committee of the Assembly met with the bill on infrastructure contracts, taking into account the interests of the nation. It is in these terms that the Minister of Defense in charge of the relations with the Parliament, Hadi Hassan Badon, highlighted the draft law on strategic infrastructure contracts before the Committee on the Environment. The strategic points of a strategic vision, the Republic of Djibouti has chosen to base its economic growth on foreign investments and the development of strategic infrastructure like the developed countries, which protect their sensitive and strategic sectors of activity. The Republic of Djibouti wishes through this draft law to renegotiate or as such terminate in whole or in part all contracts relating to design, realization, management or operation of strategic infrastructure when it considers that the stipulation of these contracts proved to be contrary to the fundamental interests of the country. Moving on to the regions now, the Ali Sabih Regional Hospital, known as Dr. Ahmed Absiye Warsama, organized yesterday morning a collecting blood day. Many people donated their blood. The Assyrian population has responded massively to this call to offer this precious liquid that saves lives. The President of the Regional Council, Umar Ahmed Wais, and the Director of the Regional Hospital of Ali Sabih, Dr. Ahmed Absiye Warsama, and Muhammad Sugi Ahmed took part of the event. And as part of the fight against smuggled goods, the inter-army battalions of the Ali Sabih region, in collaboration with the Ali Sabih Customs Brigade and the police, intercepted a quantity of cat bags from a contraband belonging to the cat transport company referred to as private. This large-scale operation took place in the evening at the Galile border. There were seized in this case a cat committee composed of 149 packages of cat the smugglers wanted to carry in quantity in the capital, and this important batch was then burned in the presence of the chief of the Ali Sabih Customs Brigade, the police and the custom officers. And always within the framework of the fight against immigration, in the night of 11 to 12 October, gendarmes stations like Asal Post have reopened a crossing operation in the hills of Garaito in Marmariso itinerary practically borrowed by migrants. And during this operation, the gendarmes have intercepted 205 immigrants of Ethiopian origin desiring all to attain the Gulf countries, and these migrants have had humanitarian water and food assistance by the police. They were brought back at the border of Galilee. And more from the world now. Morocco and Russia wish to boost their cooperation in the power sector, and this was disclosed by Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's Prime Minister, while visiting the European Kingdom and signing major deals. More updates with Saeed Mohammed.
Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev has signed a string of energy, military and other deals with Morocco during his tour in North Africa. Medvedev met with Moroccan Prime Minister Salahuddin Al-Othmani and presided at the signing ceremony of 12 bilateral agreements. The agreements cover cooperation in areas such as customs, agriculture, the military and culture, as well as energy efficiency and the peaceful use of nuclear energy. This is a very promising project, in particular the delivery of liquefied natural gas to meet the needs of the Moroccan economy. But we are ready to discuss with our partners in other areas of cooperation. Medvedev traveled with a large Russian government delegation and Russian business executives. Trades between Rabat and Moscow reached 225 million euros in 2015. The trade balance remained deficit for the kingdom. The Russian Prime Minister arrived in Morocco after a visit to Algeria, where he discussed oil prices and energy cooperation. Morocco mainly exports agricultural products to Russia, notably citrus fruits, and import mainly liquefied natural gas.
It is with these images we close this edition. Thank you for joining us in RTD and have a great evening.